conversation in school, so much so that actually Brenda our facilitator, came up afterwards and said, well, we could have had that conversation for at least 8 hours. And I totally agree. So, having not yet seen the PowerPoint, I will try to call the most important points of our conversation and summarize them for you. So, how do we increase participation during the school hours? And I think a big point that we took away from our conversation was an issue of messaging. Messaging not only to families about eligibility and to schools about the importance of participation. We focus a lot on not just school lunch, but also thinking through universal school breakfast, which is a new and incredibly important initiative in the Chicago Public Schools. But that it has to really be communicated up through the administration, the highest levels of administration at the Board of Education, and also within individual schools to ensure that the connection between academics and hunger is made and understood and really clear, so that there's not the hesitation or the barriers that we sometimes see in schools being pivotal in their ability to provide food for kids during school hours. So get more buy-in and more understanding of the issue, change language to show that health, food, and hunger are a part of the academic framework, and decrease barriers. We talked a lot about the silos, which our distinguished panel focused on in their discussion to some degree, and just that we can't see hunger as something that's separate from the other issues that schools are really there to address. So how do we leverage more dollars? One idea that came out of the discussion is to incentivize schools and districts to look at how money flows with regard to the meal services that they provide. So in Illinois, part of our school funding is based on free and reduced lunch, or free and reduced meal enrollment. How can we make that not just about enrollment, but participation as well? And someone highlighted the disconnect of what we expect of schools and how they are funded. This idea of schools as community centers, and here schools are asked to provide so many services in addition to education, but education dollars are really what drives school funding, obviously, and those outcomes are what dictates the dollars available to provide other services. So innovative ideas. We're talking about the increase in community gardens that's happening now, increasing local produce by engaging local farmers to provide food in schools, linking funding to participation, not just eligibility, which I mentioned before, and schools link more with community organizations, like health organizations, to educate the wider community. I think that's it. So we had a great conversation, and I hope it continues. Thank you so much. We'll be sure it continues.
Thank you, Annie. Now, may I have the representative from the after-school group?
You startled me, and I would have screamed. My goodness, a little trauma in the day is not a bad thing.
My name is Chris Dennis from the Chicago Department of Family and Support Services. We focused on after school. I really think that the dynamic conversation that got started in the panel here flowed into the room, covering a lot of ground. We looked a lot at schools after school, but then the conversation also moved towards community-based organizations that provide after-school programming. So how do we increase participation? One area we talked about was education within the organizations that provide the program. So educating and informing school staff about the availability and convenience of a third meal option, which is a possibility, but not necessarily taken advantage of by all schools. Finding advocates in the system to help educate new schools and participants to expand a program like that. And we talked about the need for universality. the idea coming from the universal school breakfast and expanding that into after school, encouraging that to remove stigma of qualifying for a free meal, and advocating for program flexibility at all levels. This is related to restrictions, sometimes in the regulations on where a meal can be consumed, whether it can go home with the child. And I think one piece there, in terms of increasing participation, is when kids are in school, they have a purpose. It's to be in school, and the meal happens to be there as well, and it's universal. But increasing activities after school, so that the purpose of staying after school is not just the meal, but something that everyone can participate in, is what we talked about. So how do we leverage more dollars? Advocate for program flexibility within the Child Nutrition Reauthorization Act. As I mentioned, funding for backpack programs or new models that don't require meals to be consumed on site. And of course, the big issue that took a while for us to get to, but is hugely important, is a higher reimbursement rate will allow for the distribution of higher quality food, and just one word, just cost. Find meaningful ways to measure short and long-term program impact can help attract new private donors and lead to public dollars. And this is talking about what this access to healthy meals means at the end of the day for these participants, whether it's improved school performance, and innovative ideas, providing information for parents at school registration. So from the very beginning, make this part of the conversation. Develop new ways to present healthy food and make it attractive to children. The anecdote that was used was an orange being placed on the table is more likely to be used as a bowling ball than be eaten in some cases and presented in ways that are more attractive. Coordinated advocacy efforts with legislators and donors involving all the programs that are represented here, site visits, and really spreading the word. And shared public-private demonstration projects as a way to show what works and get local areas involved in innovation. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, may I have the representative from the out of school? See, I even knew this time to look ahead, so I would not be startled.
Jennifer.
Hi there. Jennifer Racina with the Sergeant Shriver National Center on Poverty Law. We took a look at the out-of-school issues, and obviously a lot of the suggestions cut across all these issues, so we'll repeat what we said earlier. But looking at increasing participation, so many of these programs are administered by government organizations and government agencies, and we need to make those more customer-centered. And that can be done through utilizing technology like online resources, partnerships with other organizations that are doing things like this, and just outreach in the community and placing these resources in the community where they can be accessed. It's important to work with agencies that already have the trust and understanding of the communities. It removes certain access barriers such as language barriers, cultural barriers, fear of government organizations. By utilizing the things that are already in place, we can better reach this population in need of assistance. Schools are really at the center of this. We don't want to increase the burden on them, but it is just such an opportunity to reach such a large population and connect them to the resources that are available. And using organizations where food is not the primary resource. Obviously, if you go to a food bank, you might expect them to help you sign up for SNAP. But by going to some place as an alcohol or drug treatment center, by some other outreach organization, and working the food resources and other things into that program can be helpful. For increasing participation, additional things are offering more flexibility with existing programs and how meals are served, not requiring them to be in a congregate setting, and things like that, so they'll be more utilized. Public awareness campaign. This is really a unique opportunity where people are more aware of economic hardship that families are facing, and more aware that anybody can fall into poverty. Many people are hungry. It can happen to anybody. So making use of this opportunity to reduce some of the stigma of the programs. Child care networks is another key place where low-income individuals are being reached and are being accessed. So connect that with nutrition programs, such as reimbursement programs through child care and things like that. Another huge area where people are already accessing is healthcare. People are there, babies born in a hospital, so connect them immediately to they're kind of selling to these individuals and provide them with more connections to the resources that are available. Leveraging more dollars. So there's a new tax checkoff for the 2010 tax season, where individuals who are receiving a refund, or they can also choose to donate money towards nutrition programs. So that's just a really simple way to leverage private dollars. And also looking where private dollars can be invested to increase public dollars. One thing we talked about was the 80% match under the TANF program as part of the Emergency Contingency Fund, or using private dollars for the startup costs for some food program that will then be sustained through federal dollars. There are lots of opportunities there. Food companies are obviously very involved in this process. They can make us, certain specially marked packages. If you buy this, they'll donate $1 to this program. And simply increasing participation. These dollars are out there. We're continually leaving billions of dollars in federal funds on the table by people not accessing the programs that already exist. Some innovative ideas that cut across a lot of these needs and break down a lot of these barriers are mobile food pantries that can bring healthy, nutritious food to food deserts, to places where there's not public transportation, grocery stores. We can provide incentives to already existing programs to extend their hours or days of service to reach people out of school, to reach them on evenings, on weekends, when the traditional programs are not available to them. And also just do outreach to institutions on how to access funding. Make sure every child care worker knows about the programs that are available and how to access them. And corner stores are a huge place as well for healthy and nutritious food. They can be used as an asset. They're benefiting from SNAP dollars. We've partnered with them in other ways. Let's see how we can work with them. Maybe provide private dollars for coolers such that they can stock healthy, nutritious produce. And finally, community gardening, which has been mentioned already, is just an innovative way to involve the community and provide healthy, nutritious food.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thanks to all of you. Clearly, there were some incredibly lively and passionate conversations that took place, and we are so grateful that everyone came to this and honored the commitment to be engaged and really participate. I want to make a quick thanks to, there are several people around this room who participated in the CMAP process. If you are a panelist, can you just wave your hand for a moment? I see a couple of you. Excellent. Thanks to everybody who, over the last year, and frankly, for many months leading up to that, agreed to participate and really shape the recommendations that resulted in this important report. We are, of course, a food bank, and we care a great deal about feeding hungry people. So right now, we are going to break from the PowerPoints and the people standing up at podiums. Stay in your seats. Lunch is going to be served to everybody. And when we have all had a chance, and perhaps most importantly, when the Undersecretary has had a chance to have his lunch, we will then have the opportunity for him to share with us his thoughts about the administration's important